the word on the street is Jan Pike is going to get this job. He was a strength coach from the Northeast. And if he's going to get the job, then there's no sense in moving forward. That's my first experience with Tom Coughlin. If Jan Pike was going to get the job, I wouldn't be talking to you at 9 o'clock at night. It was all fun, and we just loved each other. And that was just the beauty of the locker room.
It was.
It was so many different personalities, so many different races, so many different ethnicities, and we all bonded together. And if our country could do that, we wouldn't have all this junk going on in our country.
Welcome to Catch the Moment podcast. I am your host, David Tyree.
It is caught by Tyree. That's a great catch by David Tyree. Oh my God. This ball's thrown and Tyree just goes up for it like a basketball player.
Welcome to Catch the Moment podcast. It's your host, David Tyree. Excited today for another exciting episode. This is where you always come to get you through that process, the pain point, the journey, get you to your next destination, your next moment so that you can get great done. Today, I'm here with a true friend. You're gonna be really in store for not just some great stories, but some actionable items. Jerry Palmieri, head strength coach in the NFL, Boston College, decorated resume, 2-time Super Bowl winner. My brother, how you doing?
I'm doing great, David. Thanks for having me today.
Listen, this is long overdue. I don't know what took me so long to get you on the couch. I'm trying to figure out where we can start. Here's where we always start. I got a chance to work with you as a player from 2004 easily through 2009, right? Just my last season there. I got a chance to work with you as a colleague in the front office while you were still the strength coach with the Giants. But you sat in a great position of influence with the New York Football Giants, Boston College with Coach Coughlin, right? But you were there at the Super Bowl for the helmet catch. So that's our first question typically all the time. You know, where were you? What were your thoughts? What were your memories the first time you ever saw the helmet catch?
Well, you know, we're on the sideline, and we got to make that final drive. And, you know, when New England scored, I was like, shoot. You know? And then we had the ball. I think we probably got it somewhere inside the 20.
Yeah.
We started that drive. And such tremendous plays. I think we converted 2 fourth down plays.
Brandon Jacobs, 4th and 1 for sure.
You know, and then the overthrow where their cornerback missed
Asante Samuel. Yeah.
Yeah, he missed that interception. Oh, thank you, Jesus. And you got to understand, David, as when I'm on the sideline, you know, I'm the get back coach, and you know I help guys when if they need.
Tell them what the get back coach is, because y'all, you know, people starting to understand a little bit. Somebody's responsible.
You see, you got to keep the players back because the coaches have to stay out of the white, and then there's a line, there's about a 3-yard line there where the coach is supposed to stay, and the player's supposed to be back beyond them.
Yeah.
If the players start pushing up, they push the coach out to the white. If an official bumps into a coach, then it's a 15-yard penalty, and I'm getting my butt reamed by the head coach because of that.
If few people can ream some tail, chew tail.
So that's my job, keep the guys back. But other than that, I'm praying. I am praying. I'm praying for the team. I'm praying for the Lord just to intervene.
Yeah.
And we're on this final drive, and you know, when Eli goes back, and I know more of the play now because I've seen it over and over and over and over again on highlight reels and so forth. But, you know, when that ball went sailing in the air and to see David go up and catch it, and David, you're so gracious enough to give me an autographed picture of that, and I have it right in my living room.
Of course.
And you're vert, man. I mean, you are like 40 inches off the ground, and your legs are flying. It's just so high, and you got that ball just glued to your helmet, and the tenacity to hold on to that ball with the defender pulling at your arm to, you know, it's just a great play. And I was like, he caught it. And then, of course, we went on. Plaxico catches the winning touchdown.
No doubt.
But what I remember most, David, is my son was on the sideline.
Yeah.
Tony, because he had worked training camp that last year. He was a senior in college. He was kind of as a ball boy, he was like top of the food chain, so to speak. And so he came back from college to go to the game and worked the week, worked the sideline. Man. He goes running over. He puts a Super Bowl hat on my head, and what a special moment. And then so we're celebrating. I'm looking for my wife. My son-in-law jumps to the fence. He goes over. He grabs me. I said, "Where's Ellen Anna Marie?" That's my wife and my daughter. He says, "I don't know." I said, "What do you mean you don't know?" But you see, he didn't have a ticket to get on the field. So he jumped the fence. They had a ticket. They had to go around. And then when I saw them, and I got a picture of this.
Awesome.
I grabbed them, and I'm hugging them, and it's just tears flowing down my eyes. The emotion of finally hitting that pinnacle to win the Super Bowl, and it was just an emotional time for me.
Yeah.
Because a lot of years, there's a lot of great coaches, a lot of great players that never get to the Super Bowl, never mind winning a Super Bowl. Yeah. And by the grace of God, and that's all it is, by the grace of God, is I got to be part of two. And you know what, David? I started a spiritual discipline in 2007.
Oh, wow.
Because we're going into that season, and we know if we don't get it done, we're out of there.
Bro, because that was hot seat. That was the hot seat. Eli was up. TC was up.
And, that 2006 season didn't go as planned. It was supposed to be a much better year. We finished 8-8, got knocked out in the first round. We played Philly, tough game in that wild card round.
Yeah.
But, they kicked the field goal at the end of the game. Yeah. No time on the clock. And
they had us.
Sent us home packing. So, I was, my wife and I, she has learned from Bible study about praying through Scripture. Yeah. So she turned me on to it, had a variety of verses, and just been praying through Scriptures all that whole year. Yeah. And and I'm praying and I said, Lord, I know you're going to do something with somebody. As we got into those playoffs and we started to get on that run. Sure. And I said, but who are you going to use? I mean, really, we have Christians on the team, but the one that's vocal, the one that's gonna praise your name, is David Tyree. Now, David Tyree is a great special teams player, but how is he going to be in position to be praising your name? And everybody forgets this, David. You caught a touchdown pass to put us ahead. No doubt. In the fourth quarter. And then they came back, and then they went ahead. Yeah. And then, of course, the helmet catch, what everybody remembers, right now, probably the greatest play in Super Bowl history.
Bro, I always love hearing you share that because there's so many different dynamics and stories that are, like, intertwined to the season, right? So when people ask me, I'm like, I had something that was so personal going on. I'm praying at 5 a.m. every single morning for the first 2.5 months of the season. Like literally every single morning because I was getting closer to Michael Jennings' mom, Kimberly Daniels. She was a pastor in Jacksonville. So like there was all these little pockets of stories. Coach Coughlin with his wife challenging him that year in relation to just having fun, enjoying the ride. Your story with the discipline. And so people don't understand all these moving pieces that we know God is orchestrating, but that made that such a miraculous, like spirit-filled season. And when you get the victory, man, the emotions are like just through the roof. Let's unpack, like we're gonna do a little bit in reverse order. How long, how long did you talk about the relationships, and football is a big relationship business. And everything boils down to relationship, but there's some industries that are just so much. How did this relationship between you and Coach Coughlin develop? How long did you work together? Talk a little bit about your journey as a strength coach and obviously reaching the pinnacle of a 2-time Super Bowl champion.
Well, we're gonna go back a way.
Go for it.
So when I was an athlete, I was an amateur boxer. I mean, I played football, baseball, typical sports most kids play. Yeah. But I was an amateur boxer. That's what I really excelled in.
So you put them hands on folk.
Yeah, I mean, I competed nationally, competed internationally.
And where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Dumont, New Jersey, which is in Bergen County.
Y'all heard what he said.
Grew up there, born in that house.
Yeah.
Didn't move out of the house till I got married, and so I was an amateur boxer, and your boxers back then in the 70s did not lift weights. So I never touched weights, and I went to college, Montclair State. Wanted to be a physical education teacher.
Man, you know you went to Montclair State
and a coach. Yep, and so when I graduated, I started coaching at my hometown, Dumont High School, coaching football.
Yeah.
And I was teaching as an in-school suspension teacher in Irvington, New Jersey.
Get out of here. It wasn't quite the hood yet, but it was on its way.
It was.
In the 70s?
It was.
They still had a lot of like Jewish families in Irvington back then.
Not 19. This was, I gotta remember, this was 19.
So the 80s.
80.
Okay, all right. So yeah.
Okay, and I
got you.
I had a young man threaten to come back and shoot me.
Oh, listen, bro. My aunt lived in Irvington, so that's where we lived. I used to be in the Vailsburg section, so North Munn, Irvington. It was bad.
Yeah. So when my first coaching season ended, a friend of mine said, "Hey, look, they opened up this brand new Nautilus Club in Northvale, which wasn't far from Westwood. You were staying for a little bit." And he said, "Why don't you come on and work with us?" I know nothing about lifting weights. That's easy, no big deal. So Nautilus Systems, one set to failure.
Sure.
And, so I got into it, did it. But, I started thinking, and that, powerlifters do multiple sets for heavyweight, low reps. Bodybuilders do multiple sets of lightweight for many reps.
Okay.
I'm saying, I want to learn why we're only doing one set to failure.
Mm-hmm.
So I was motivated to go back to grad school, study exercise physiology, understand how the body adapts to exercise.
Wow.
So, like I said, I didn't touch a weight until I graduated college. So I went back to the University of North Carolina. By the grace of God, they let me volunteer for the first semester. They hired me on as part-time.
Yeah.
I knew nothing about strength training, so I must have put on a pretty good show.
Yeah.
Just to be able to get in the loop. But strength and conditioning was young at that time.
Sure.
And so
you're a pioneer.
Well,
go ahead and take your flowers, man. Take your flowers, JP.
So so I did that, and by the grace of God, I progressed. I learned, advanced my education, and developed a philosophy, and then went on to Oklahoma State as an assistant strength and conditioning coach.
Yeah.
Met my professional daddy, John Stuckey. He mentored me. He invested in me as a Christian, as a man of God.
Wow.
As a coach, really, And one thing he taught me, and good lesson to learn: people do what you inspect, not what you expect.
Come on, brother.
So don't expect people to be doing it the way you think they're going to do it. You better go make sure they're doing it the way. So he told me, he says, if you expect your athlete squatting 80% of their max of 5 reps, you better be there watching them, holding them accountable, making sure they're doing 80% of their max.
Yeah.
That's why I was always on people. I was on, they say, like flies on doo-doo. Well, that was me. I was all over the floor.
I love it.
Just holding guys accountable, and I might be on left side of the room, but I'd have one eye on that guy down the right side.
You'd make your way over, dog. Hey, listen, we were fast. So, all right, what point did you get the opportunity? How do you meet TC? And how long do y'all work together?
So what happened was, I went from Oklahoma State to Kansas State. That was my first head job.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a good story because a young man from Montclair State
Yeah.
called me up, and he said, hey, Coach, Dr. Schleedy, who was one of my professors, suggested I give you a call. And I would like to be a strength and conditioning coach. Now, understand, this is 6 o'clock. I've been in the room probably since 5:30.
Yeah.
I'm tired. I want to go home. I don't know this kid. But, I sat down and gave him about 45 minutes of my time.
Oof.
And I told him, I said, listen, you call me anytime. And for the next 3 years, he did call me.
Sure.
And finally, he called me. It was in 1993. He says, "Hey, Coach, I finally got my first job. I'm going to be assistant at University of Pittsburgh." I said, "Congratulations, Jim. So
awesome.
Happy for you." But I said, if you ever hear of a job back east, a head job, let me know because I'd like to get back closer to home.
Wow.
And so about a month later, he calls me and says, "Coach, the Boston College job is going to come open.
Wow.
The guy there is going to leave. He's going to go into private practice." So I said, okay. So they got to know. Now, there's no computers back then, okay? There's no email.
Let's bring this into context.
So I faxed the resume, and it was actually the weekend of July 4th. Faxed the resume in, and I asked a guy who knew somebody over there. I said, just make sure it got. That's all I want you to do.
Sure.
And that was it. I never anybody called because I was involved in 2 other jobs earlier that year.
Yep.
Didn't work out. So I said, I go for a 3rd job. And they're going to run me out of here. So a month goes by. And, if you remember, David, when you were in Syracuse, you had summer training. Then you had about 10 days before camp started.
You did.
I mean, now it's like they start at the end of July.
Correct.
There's no break.
Yeah.
And during that break, Coach Coughlin called me one time at night. I was putting my son down to bed. And my wife comes in and says, Tom Coughlin on the phone? Again, there's no cell phones. It's my house phone.
Sure.
And I said, I had to think for a minute. Oh, yeah, okay. So I'm talking to Coach, and he's talking about the job. I said, hey, Coach, just to be honest with you. Okay, I was just involved in 2 jobs. The word on the street is Jan Pike is going to get this job. He was a strength coach from the Northeast. And if he's going to get the job, then there's no sense of moving forward. This is my first experience with Tom Coughlin. If Jan Pike was going to get the job, I wouldn't be talking to you at 9 o'clock at night. Okay, Coach.
That's fantastic. That is some TC stuff right there.
So we continued to talk, and he brought me in for an interview. And, as it went, he offered me the job, and he and I hit it off well.
Yeah.
He was very gracious to me, and we just developed this relationship. And then 6 months later, he leaves. He goes to Jacksonville. And I'm like, man.
What?
I finally got back here to Northeast, and a fantastic situation because coaching for Coach Coughlin in college, I mean, it was the best.
Really?
There was no discipline issues. I could just coach. Nobody was crossed that line.
He set them all straight. He had all them suckers shook.
They would walk like straight line.
Tight butts, boy.
Nobody crossed. And it was a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And then he's leaving. I'm like, man. And I'm not sure if I even want to go to the NFL.
Yeah.
At this point, because actually, in about a year earlier, a guy asked us, wouldn't you want to coach the NFL, being one of the greatest athletes in our sport?
Sure.
I said to him, Jim, not really. I mean, I enjoy investing in the lives of these young people. I led the FCA.
It's different,
I had them at my house.
Yep.
I'm speaking truth into their life and seeing lives transformed.
Yep.
And that's what I wanted to do.
Mm.
And so that's what I said. So when this happened, I was like, I'm not really sure if I want to do it. But again, God intervened. And when Coach went to Jacksonville, there was no players.
No.
Okay.
Expansion team.
He had an expansion team. He had, I don't know, about 8 months or so.
Man.
Or 10 months to build the organization, and they wouldn't get players till like December or January of 1995. So he said, look, you stay here, and I'll hire you at the end of the season.
Mm.
I said, okay, it's for this man to have that much confidence in me was a blessing because we've only been together 6 months.
Yeah.
We know each other. Wow. And I actually told him, David,
TC's my dog.
I said, Coach, I appreciate that, but don't feel you have to hire me by your decision now. If somebody else comes available, you want to hire them, I want you to hire the one that you want. And then, sure enough, we got
Jerry over here fired himself.
We played Kansas State, the team that I left, in the Aloha Bowl.
Yep.
We won that game, came back, and we got this jet lag going. My wife and I are laying in bed. Probably 7 o'clock in the morning. I mean, we just got back, and the phone rings, and I pick up his coach, and he offers me a contract, and he goes, it's something like, he goes, 70, 75, and I'm not even sure what he's talking about, because no one ever offered me a contract before college. They tell you what you're going to make, and that's it.
Yeah.
70, 75. I said, I hesitated because I didn't know what he was saying.
Yeah.
So I guess he thought I wasn't happy. So it's 75, 80. I can't make any higher. And I realized what he was saying. I should have hesitated one more time.
One more time.
But that was it. And then spent 8 seasons with them in Jacksonville.
And y'all shocked. I mean, like y'all shocked the NFL. I mean, was it 2 years or the third year where you were in the AFC Championship? Second year.
Second year.
And
we did things differently. Coach rode them hard.
Yeah, he did.
It wasn't he wasn't a player's coach. We trained him hard.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we free weight program. We did the Olympic lifts, the power lifts.
Yep.
We just didn't go out there and run on treadmills or just do striders. We did speed development, change direction.
From your understanding at the time, as far as what you would, like I said, I would consider you now looking at a full scope. You know, obviously I go into college and I'm in the late 90s. So there's these philosophies that are taking place. But at the time when you're even getting into Jacksonville, like, is that a big shift in philosophy where some of the more Olympic lifts? Because I got in with a mother done in the NFL 2003, and they still had machines. So you guys came in and brought back what I was experiencing in college.
Yeah.
So, from that standpoint, timeline and where strength and conditioning is going, was it just the intensity of it, or was it philosophy too? Was it more secure? What was your vantage point?
It was philosophy too. They wanted to be easy on the players.
Yep.
Keep them healthy. Keep them safe.
Sure.
They're skilled athletes. For example, I remember when I was putting my weight room together, some guy wanted to call me from Woodway treadmills. You know, they're the best treadmills that they make. He says, you need these Woodway treadmills. I said, I need one treadmill. That's all I need. What do you mean one treadmill? You got to train these guys on the treadmill. I said, no, I don't. You're going to run these guys? Are you kidding me? You're going to run them? Absolutely going to run them. Because that's what they do on the field. We don't have a bunch of treadmills out there.
I hate the treadmills.
The mechanics of running on a treadmill is so different than running on grass or turf.
Yeah.
It's a totally different mechanics.
Sure.
So, that was the mentality back then.
It's good.
And so we're just going to train them the way we have. And that's one thing I think a lesson to learn is when you get to the pinnacle of your profession, do what got you there. Don't all of a sudden adjust to what they're doing there.
Sure.
Do what got you there. You got hired because you are successful.
Sure.
And you're successful doing it the way you do it. So
it's a bar
change.
right there. Yeah. Don't immediately change what you know has already gotten you success. Now, I mean, like, it's so hard. You have such a robust experience. Obviously, you have immediate success at Jacksonville, and I'm saying collectively. But Coach, a lot of people know Coach Coughlin's journey as a successful coach, but also a hard coach, right? Like, and more of the negative connotation and ability, his inability to maybe relate to men as players, right? Like when you consider a college coaching style, it really relates extremely well because there's so much need. So, what's your vantage point as an employee, as someone who's in a relationship with Coach, to also experiencing some of the challenges of working with that difficult of a personality, an A-type? I know what's right and almost like shut off. What's your vantage point from all these different dynamics? And you're a Christian who can feel some of those constraints from not like love, like, the love is there to do laid up for you. So what's your perspective of the progression through the years?
Yeah, so clearly Coach was a transactional coach.
Yeah.
Okay, Bill Parcells style. Hey, all right, you're going to play, you can't play, then we move on. Okay, that way. I think he was a little more gracious than Parcells was. They tell me as Giants that Parcells wouldn't talk to anybody.
Man.
In the training room,
yeah,
he got no use for you.
Yeah.
And that obviously motivated those guys to get back on the field. They know if he ain't talking to them, that ain't good.
Yeah.
And Coach would always saying, hey, the lame, the lazy, let's go on, get on the field,
Yeah.
He'd come in and yell at that. But
no doubt.
He was a little more gracious. But he was a transactional coach. But what happened was in 2007, like you alluded to, he became more of a transformational coach.
He did.
He began investing in people, being concerned about them personally, and then it began to transpire. And then while Well, every player always respected Coach Coughlin.
He was so fair.
Because he was black and white. Hey, either you're playing well or you're not playing well. And he didn't sugarcoat it. He told you the truth.
Yeah.
And, he did that with his coaches, too.
Yeah.
I mean, he got on all of us. We all walked that straight line because we didn't want to we didn't want to cross him.
Yep.
Okay, so he was very black and white, but he became more transformational, more relational in 2007, and that really changed his career to where guys looked at him as a father.
Yeah.
And they love him. But I kind of act like a little bit of a medium to him because I was able to share things. I said, Coach, listen, this was going on, and I'm just telling you, you probably need to address it this way, and be able to give him some advice that way.
It's powerful.
And
the role of the strength coach in light of the authentic relationships that, and like I said, you're gonna piss some players off because you're demanding of them some things in relation to their training and their health and their fitness and things of that nature. But you're seeing these players in a raw state, whereas when they're in meetings, it's all business. Right. So, from your, because obviously we work, like I said, we work together in different. What was the hardest stage? Like, what was the hardest thing about working for Coach Koff? Right, like, cause it's like, let's be real. Like, the dude was a monster. He demanded, and we're seeing the full circle of a generation of coaches with different priorities, right? It's just a different time and a different era where it's not all bad. And you had to work your way through that. And eventually, was it 2018 was your last year? 2017, 2018?
Well, my last year coach was a 2015 season.
Okay.
That's when Coach got let go. I wanted the personnel, the 16 to 17, then 2000, I think it was March 1st, 2017 is when I retired. Got you.
So, I mean, you had you were kind of right in the midst of transforming beliefs, paradigms, and Coach too, needing to make adjustments, challenges with that. But what was the hardest time? Like, this dude is bugging. Like, I know you had to have some of those crazy experiences where it's like, is there no end to your madness? Yeah. Right?
Well, I'll tell you the thing that would always irritate me. And as I advanced in my career, I was highly respected among a lot of my peers. But Coach would always have me call around the league and ask guys what they were doing. I said, Coach, these guys want to know what I'm doing, I mean, I don't tell them that, but I humbly did what he asked me to do. He was my boss.
Oh, that's a great lesson.
I had to call these guys up and I had to take notes down. And that's what they did. And then, sometimes I had to give them some information.
Sure.
And I tell Coach, hey, Coach, I got some information here. When the 49ers with Harbaugh went to the Super Bowl.
Sure.
The 2012 season.
Y'all played them to get in was that Harbaugh? That was a Harbaugh. Yeah, that was 2011, 2012, right?
2011. So the following year, I think they went to the Super Bowl.
Sure.
And I called that guy, and then he started asking me questions about the Super Bowl because we've been there twice and won it. And so I did give him some stuff. I told Coach, I got some information for you, but how to give some. What'd you give him? It's all about get as much as you can, give him nothing, And
take everything.
Coach just told him about how we handled the halftime, how we handled the pregame because of the big time difference that they allow for the Super Bowl. The celebrations, the halftime is. Good golly, I think it's
30 minutes, right?
I think it's 30 minutes. Yeah, it's 12 minutes typically.
Yeah,
in a regular game. So, you had to be strategic in how you handle that. So,
sure.
So, that's okay. But I had calling these guys and taking notes, and
he was sunning you, Jerry.
Man, he was like, and he wanted to. Anybody that went to the playoffs, he wanted to know what they were doing.
Yeah,
I said, well, Coach, they're doing what we're doing. But
y'all setting the standard around here. We out here winning championships, Coach. They want to know what we doing. That's super dope, man. I mean, like when I think about all those years, the relationships, man. Like is I didn't know what I was a part of because when you're present. It's just like as a player, you're young, you don't get it. So I want to, and I know there's an element of that is like when you're in a place where you love to be, want to be, you don't even realize how sacred the place is. So it's such a cool dynamic for you being able to be a part of some of the most iconic programs and stories, riding around with one of the greatest football coaches, but also I'm actually the best at what I do. And none of us players are probably ever making you feel like you're the best at what you do. So let's get into some. I want to hear some of your perspective, like on who gave you the most crap, and what are some of your best. Give me some 3 of the players maybe that you felt like, man, like you went to work armed up, strapped up, ready for these clowns.
Well, let me go first with Michael Strahan.
Go for it.
Michael Strahan and I, we have a nice relationship, we really do.
Yeah.
I tell you, all his personality, everything. I text Michael, I'm getting a text back. It could be in the middle of NFL Fox Sunday. It don't matter where he is, And so we have a great relationship. But
That's dope.
When I first met Michael, I mean, he wasn't too cool about what we were going to do, and of course he's real concerned about Coach Coughlin.
Sure.
But he adjusted, he adapted, but the thing is about Michael, because what a clown he is. He's got a great personality. Man, he got on me every day, all in jest though. But
all in good time.
That's the way it is, David.
Yeah.
You can't act in the real world the way we acted in the weight room and the locker room.
I know, man. So much fun.
We'd all be going to court.
Listen, 100%, 100%. Like if there was cameras on in that weight room, we'd be locked up. We'd all be brought up on charges.
We would all be called racist because
absolutely
we joke about each other's race. We joke about each other's walk. We joke about what they say, their ethnicity. I mean,
don't let them find out you're a Christian too. Then they call you out as a hypocrite and everything else. Right?
It was all fun. And we just loved each other. And that was just the beauty of the locker room.
It was.
It was so many different personalities, so many different races, so many different ethnicities, and we all bonded together. And if our country could do that, we wouldn't have all this junk going on in our country.
Tell it, JP.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And so Mike will get on me all the time, But remember how I got him back?
Tell us, because I feel like there was a couple get backs. I know the O'Hara, we can go O'Hara stories because that was one of your biggest pranksters.
He was.
But how'd you get straight back?
With Strahan, it was the final practice we had in New Jersey before going to the Super Bowl, going down to Phoenix.
Go ahead. I know. I got you.
We're in the bubble, the old bubble, and the voice really, really carries.
Yeah.
And the media's there, and I told the media guy, I'm going to get Strahan. Make sure they're ready. And he probably didn't take action. But so Michael's got that big gap between his teeth.
No doubt, the signature gap, the roller coaster ride.
He would just hammer me for those 4 years I got to coach him about stuff. And so I told Coach,
well, he get on your gimp.
And he got on my way I talked, the way I walked, my physique, whatever. It didn't matter.
How you gonna be a strength coach, Jerry?
It didn't matter. The main thing he got on me was a van.
Oh, golly. You deserved the love for that van.
The van. Let me see. So it was.
What was the year of your van?
Well, it was 1995. So this is 2007. So it's
head strength coach.
It's over 10 years old. It's whatever. And I had that baby for 26 years before we finally got rid of it.
That was it. That's what he was getting on.
It wasn't 95. Excuse me, it was 1990.
You was disgracing the lot. That's how straight it was. Because I had an '89 Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme my rookie year, and they were ripping me. So, I feel you. It's a Jersey thing.
Yeah. But you know what? I got money when I retired. So
nice. So how'd you get it back?
I didn't spend it. So anyway, so we're at the practice in the indoor, and during the warm up, we always finished up with a couple of striders. And on a final strider, my assistant Marcus Paul,
no doubt,
he had a big rope, a big three-stranded rope, and it was thick. It's one we use for push downs.
Almost like the battle rope. Yep.
And we had it bleached before we brought it out there, so it was nice and white and clean. And so on the final strider, Marcus is standing in the lane that Strahan's running in.
Sure.
And as Strahan ran by him, he dropped this cord to the ground. And I walk over to it, and the guys are still running. I yell, Michael! And everyone stopped and turned and said, why is he calling out Strahan? Nobody calls out Strahan. And I picked up the cord and held it up. Says, why are you bringing your floss out to practice? And the boys just went crazy. And it just kind of set the tone. And it went cool, but
telling you. That's what, like you said, when people consider the Super Bowl run, it was that. It became family. And it was Coach Coughlin becoming a person that year that made it, because he was the best coach. It was no question about X's and O's. There was no question about work ethic. There was no question about leadership. It was just that we finally saw him as a person. And but yeah, man, you did get some good get back. Who were some of the most memorable players throughout, like when you think about the players that you've had, it doesn't even matter. I mean, obviously you went to Super Bowls with the Giants. But who were some of the most memorable players and why?
Well, Eli, of course, had a good relationship with Eli. Eli was the kind of guy people don't realize, because he wasn't all muscled up, but he was an extremely hard worker.
I think we all realize he wasn't muscled up.
He was a hard worker, and he came in during the season every Tuesday, which is the players' day off.
Sure.
And we got an extra workout together. Then he went and watched film. And during that hour session that we were together, we talk about life. And this is from 2004 to 2015, all those years. And it was a time where, I'm not sure if Eli came in for the workout or he came in for the conversation. I'm not sure, but it was something I always looked forward to, being with him. It was, Tuesdays with Eli, and everybody kind of knew it. And Tuesday was the players' day. We had some guys trained, but that was the one time where I had to break away a little bit and spend a little more time with him, because that was I never treated him like a superstar. It wasn't like he had one-on-one with me any other time, but Tuesdays was kind of that day. And usually he came in after the other guys were finished.
It's pretty tough.
And we had a great session. We talked about spiritual things. We talked about, life. We talked about his family.
Yeah.
Well, just whatever came up. And nothing was planned. It was just conversational as he trained. And that was every Tuesday.
That's relationship.
For the time that we were together. And just a blessing for me.
Yeah.
Hey, we had our headaches along the way, I mean.
All right, so talk about it. All right, so, because it becomes very difficult. Number one, you're a man of faith, and we got to get into some of your story. What were some of the darkest years of your journey? I mean, like when I say dark, just like, we know where you're leaning in hard times. Share a scenario throughout some of this personal, professional journey where, whether, it was related to your work profession or a personal experience in life, that you felt like you were at either a turning point or, internal crisis. Because we don't, we're men, so we're also not projecting. You're older than me, so, I think older generations don't share, aren't as quick to share as much. So what was that for you, and how did you work through it?
Well, my profession really drew me closer to the Lord. It strengthened my faith and my wife's faith. When we were at Kansas State, you got to understand, Kansas State, when I went there, was not a prominent football program.
Was Bill Snyder there back in the day? Because he is Kansas State.
He is. But when I went there, Stan Parrish hired me.
Wow.
Okay?
So you were before Bill Snyder.
And let me tell you, so...
You're old.
It was 1980.
I can't help it. I was waiting.
It was 1987. And they had been to one bowl game in the history of school, which they lost. And it would soon be dubbed the losingest football program in the history of NCAA. Dang. And so my first 2 seasons were under Stan Parrish.
Yeah.
And then my third season, Bill Snyder came in, and by the grace of God, he kept me. We won one game that year. So my first 3 seasons, our record was 1-31-1. That's 1 win, 31 losses 1 time. So, you talk about being frustrated in your profession. my buddies are at big time schools, going to big time bowl games, making big time money, and I'm stuck at Kansas State.
Ooh.
And I call my professional daddy, and I talk to him. I'd say, I just start venting my frustration. He told me this: says, be the best you can be where God has you, and in His time, He will reward you.
Man, I hope everybody caught that right there, because that's where you lose sight, right? Like, because if everybody has a winning mentality. And I think the champions learn how to become process driven, but it's words like that help to navigate the internal turmoil when you're not either winning exactly, when you don't feel like you're winning, but it's probably forged the winning mindset that you got a chance to experience.
Absolutely. And so for 4 seasons, I worked under Bill Snyder, and we progressed. We got better and better. And then in 1993, when I went to BC, I had trained the team through the offseason, through the summer, and we were waiting for the season to start, that little gap we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
And I went to BC, and they went on and went to their first bowl game.
Yeah.
Second bowl game in school history, and the first one that they won.
Sheesh.
And so during those times where you're struggling and job opportunities come and go, you interview, you don't get it, just trust in God, you know what's best.
That's powerful.
And prior to Boston College, I interviewed at North Carolina and South Carolina. And that North Carolina, I went to Carolina. That's where I graduated from. And so to go back, to have a possibility of going back to Carolina was a beautiful thing. And my wife and I really wanted it. She wanted to go. And when I was actually at a conference, when I found out that they chose another person, and I called Ellen. And then when I finally got back to the house, she was in the fetal position on the couch.
Wow.
Just devastated that we didn't get that job. Wow. And, so.
So your wife in a fetal position, not even your wife.
Yeah, she was struggling. I mean, she was struggling. But you know what? As a woman of God, she got back up on her feet, and she found Ephesians 3:20. To him who can do immeasurably more than you ask or imagine. To him be the glory. And so she claimed that verse. She put it on a refrigerator, on an index card.
Sure.
And she hung on to that. And then 4 months later, I interviewed at South Carolina and had a great interview.
Yeah.
Didn't get it. Okay, but it was cool.
Yeah.
She said, wow, North Carolina's not good enough for us. South Carolina's not good enough for us. Boy, God's got something really great planned for us.
That's good.
And then, like I said, in July, BC came open, got the phone call from Coach in early August, and then the rest is history.
I love that. I love what she says, it's not good enough for us, because a lot of times when we perceive rejection, we say that we're not good enough for it. And, you got to turn the tables really on how, it's like closed doors versus open doors. And we know that He can open doors that no man can shut. And I think that's just a real powerful paradigm shift that we can all adopt, man. That opportunity is not good enough for me. What's going on, everybody? This is David Tyree, Super Bowl 42 champion, owner of DT3 Enterprises, where you get the truth, transparency, and transformation. Listen, are you looking to increase your brand's visibility? Are you looking to partner with an iconic platform, business owners such as myself? Look no further. We want to give you a unique opportunity for your business, for your brand, to partner with Mr. Helmet Catch himself and catch your next moment. If you're excited about the opportunity, make sure you contact us at davidtyree85.com. But I think what's consistent for you guys and your faith is that, the consistency between your faith and your work ethic, right? And talk about how many years have you been married, and what are some of the unique challenges, when people kind of romanticize sports and working in sport? What are some of the unique challenges that you guys had in your faith, in your marriage, when it comes to priorities? How did you, we know that the Lord was the centerpiece of navigating it, but how was that for you? Because you didn't go home, you were on the coaching schedule for the most part. So what were the tough times, and how did you guys navigate that and find a healthy marriage throughout your career?
Well, we're going to celebrate 23 years. 43 years.
I was about to say, Jerry, you are.
We're going to celebrate 43 years.
Amazing. Congratulations.
Come August, by the grace of God. And I was a strength coach, so I didn't have to work at night game planning. So I was home, for dinner. It might have been a late dinner. It might have been a 6:30 dinner, but
Sure.
or 7 o'clock dinner. But I was home, and Ellen would make my 2 children wait until Daddy came home.
Wow.
She didn't feed them. We ate as a family. And now it was tough during the summers because, back then, it isn't like it is now where these guys don't work.
Sure.
We all had to work. So I'd get in there early. I train the guys in the morning, and then I might shut it down for about 2 hours in the afternoon. So I'd go home and have a meal.
Sure.
And then come back and then keep it open until about 8 o'clock at night.
Nice.
So it was tough.
Yeah.
But you had a great wife. Ellen's a great
I said she's a great cook.
Yeah, she's a good cook.
I know what you wanted to say.
A good cook. But she's a great coach's wife. And she was a blessing. She understood. She supported everything I did. She came down to the facility. She knew the players. She, she was part of the FCA with us.
Yeah.
So she's investing in the women, and the athletes became part of our family.
Yeah.
They became older brothers and sisters to my kids.
Sure.
So we just navigated through that, and the thing is that I did when I decided to go into the coach profession, I said I'm going to have 3 lives: I have my spiritual life,
Mm-hmm.
I have my family life,
Okay.
I have my work life. There ain't no social life.
So you scrapped it. You scrapped that from the rip.
So I said, look, I'm not out there playing golf.
Yeah.
Nothing's wrong playing golf. No judgment there. But,
Yeah.
I didn't have 4 hours to give to a golf course. I need to be with my family. So,
We got the same story, dog.
So if I'm either working, I'm either serving God, or I'm with the family. And a lot of our social time was together with the family.
I love it, bro.
So
You build your life around your values, right? At the end of the day is, like when you fear God, when you love God. And people obviously miss Christianity. The good thing about today's world is that there's a lot more healthy voices to bring context to the faith. Whereas, that's just because of so many voices on social media and platforms. But, at the time where, people have a perception about the faith, most people didn't know how to consistently live it out, because there's a religious life and there's an authentic life. And I got a chance to see you do it well from the moment that you became a part of, the Giants as an organization. But, your marriage, your example. Talk about your passions, man, because you weren't just an example. I've always known you to also be a servant. And sometimes we try to disconnect both in the realm of, your faith, people who are living out their faith. I'm a Christian, but you don't do nothing or you don't say anything. I think you did both with a lot of seasoning and grace, understanding there's boundaries, there's a relational approach, there's a time. But, you talked about these 3 different pods. I look at it as one consistent life, but how they're expressed at different times and how they're valued or prioritized at different times. How did you, talk about what service means to you and how your example, the places that you've been, and what that has looked like. You talked about FCA already. So talk about.
Well, first of all, is Jesus is part of everything that I do.
There you go.
Okay. I don't leave him at the church door when I leave church on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
When I get up in the morning and I read my word of God, I read the word. I don't leave him at the kitchen table when I go to work. He's just part of everything that I do.
Yeah.
And I actually had, I won't mention the name, but one guy called me out and said, upstairs, referring to the management, they think you're preaching to the players down here. Like you gotta
sound like somebody I know. Sound like someone I'm thinking of.
So
I'm calling names. I'm calling shots fired in 2024.
So I said, listen, I am who I am. I'm not preaching nothing, okay? But if they're going to ask me questions about what I think, they're going to get a biblical point of view. That's just who I am, and I can't deny that. So if they don't want that perspective, they don't got to ask me.
That's right.
Plain and simple.
That's right.
So that's just the way it was. And
so you felt some of that at NYG.
And you know what? That was it. And never had another question about it.
Yeah.
And I'm sidetracking a little bit.
It's all good.
But what was good is we're at training camp, the last day was kind of a party day.
Oh yeah.
And I was a bed check guy. And so,
bed check, baby.
We had to like kind of show a little grace in that day, on the last day.
Ooh, boy.
And so somebody wrote a letter. This guy from up in Albany to John Mara said that your training camp was like a brothel. All these women coming in and out, and he's reading this and you probably see Mr. Mara's face is getting red.
Wow.
And then all of a sudden they said, and the leader behind all this is Jerry Palmieri. At that, he just took a deep breath and throw this in the
garbage.
I mean, once you go there, then it's all made up, And so I had heard that through the grapevine.
Sure.
John Mara didn't come and tell me that, but someone else did. And it was just a blessing to hear somebody say that I had demonstrated enough character that they wouldn't even think about that.
Ooh, you just opened up. Ooh,
so that was a blessing there. But it's living out your faith
in
everything that you do, and it's applying the Word of God to your life.
Sure.
That's what I think people have trouble doing, is they read the Word of God and they just think of it as a history book or as words of wisdom. But that's good. Or they even think of just Jesus as your Savior.
Sure.
Well, Jesus is more than your Savior.
Yeah.
Not that being a Savior is enough, but He wants to be your Lord.
Yeah.
And He wants to live out your life with Him, involved in everything that you do.
Sure.
And the words He says are applicable to you and how you live your life. Whether it's Old Testament, New Testament, the Proverbs, the Psalms, there's so much there that you can apply to your life and live it out. And that's what being a man of God is, in my perspective. And that's what people take their faith to another level. Because, hey, accepting Jesus Christ, payment on the cross for your sins, and believing Him as your Savior, that's just the beginning.
Yeah.
The rest comes.
Bro.
So, it's, going through life, hey, there's struggles.
Yeah.
And, when you talk about one of the biggest struggles I had was in 2006. After that season, there was things on, and guys are talking about me, guys are getting hurt, this and that, and, kept all flowing downhill, and I'm like getting attacked.
Yep.
And I'm like, Lord Jesus, and it was a difficult time because, hey, I was at the place where I wanted to be, New York Giants. This was home for me. I grew up here.
Yeah.
And to be attacked like that through the media and so on and so forth.
Sure.
And so we were all under the gun going in 2007.
Yep.
And like I said, it was just by God's goodness that we were able to be successful and move on.
No, that's powerful because, it's obviously when you're in a high-profile job position, there's so much energy. It's in nothing like New York market. Like you're going to be scrutinized at the highest level. Some strength programs might never be scrutinized at that level just because their market's so much smaller, and they're focused on the game, not the details. But everything's amplified here. So I can definitely see that, sympathize with it. I'm gonna have some fun for a minute because I used to always think about this. I got born again in 2004, so the year that you came in, you actually might have experienced this shift of, man, this dude just got arrested. And like, bro, so I gotta hear, I want to hear this from you. Like, I get arrested in February and I get born again in March, and like, you guys are just showing up. And so give me some of your perspective on who I was, because it has to be like a cloud. Like, what the heck is going on? Who is this kid? And obviously things eventually smooth out over time. But what was your perspective? You're in some of those meetings, so what is they saying? I want to know it all, bro. Give it to them. They got Charlie Wade in.
The one thing that I remember was Charlie Wade, because, man, this guy's hallucinating in the hospital. He's thinking like he's walking around and thinking he see people in white robes. I don't know what's going on with this brother. And I'm like, because Charles and I got pretty close.
Yeah.
And I'm wow, man. But David, I'll be honest with you. That's all I remember. That, and of course, obviously, getting arrested and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I knew you as a hard worker. I knew you as a good person, and that's all I really remembered.
Yeah.
The one thing I do remember, my sister was Andy Barnett.
Oh, Andy, before Marcus came.
And I was getting on you about something, and you said to me, hey, Jerry, I'm gonna let Andy coach me, and not you, okay? And I'm like, I just kind of rolled my eyes and said, yeah, whatever, like, and I just let it roll off, because that ain't happening in my gym, Yeah. I'm too much of a hands-on guy, so I just kind of let it roll off.
Oh my God. So yeah, no one knew what I was going through, and I was probably the last person to figure out what I was going through at the time, which was really a psychotic episode. But I was going through something spiritually. But as I think what's cool about for me having an opportunity to work in the front office is that post practice type meeting. As a strength coach, you're hearing so much about players holistically, right? And just hearing it in real time and real talk. And you actually said it even in relation to your prayer. I'm a special teams dude. Most people kind of miss the fact that I won that third wide receiver job my third year because it never really materialized. So for me, it was always a crazy struggle. What was what could you perceive from the coaching staff standpoint? Because you didn't even imagine that I would be a guy making a play in the middle of the Super Bowl. What was the perception from your standpoint as far as how the Giants perceived me as a player, where they wanted me as a receiver, and what just through your experience with the Giants and the organization, and how that kind of flushed out to, obviously we had a relationship working, just working alongside, grinding. What were some of those whispers? Because I think it's a cool perspective for me to understand it. Like, I didn't understand it as a player getting in the front office role. Like, oh, okay, this is how they put things together.
Yeah, well, David, I'll be honest with you, because I wasn't in all those meetings. I had to go to a staff meeting or a practice, but I wasn't in all those meetings. But
Gotcha.
I'll be honest with you, though. You were highly regarded as a special teams player.
I was the best.
You were a baller. You were a baller and highly regarded. And you happen to play play wide receiver.
Yeah, that was it.
What it was.
Yeah.
But I got to share this to you, Christian, and I got to apologize to you.
No, it's all good, bro.
No, I got to apologize to you because remember I snapped during 7-on-7. I was a center.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I was a center.
Yeah, you were.
So it's Friday before the Super Bowl.
Oh, no apologies necessary. I know where this is going.
And we're doing red zone.
Yeah.
So we're going in. And he dropped back. I stopped the ball. Eli drops back, throws the ball into the end zone, right in your hands. You dropped it.
Yeah.
And I'm a man of faith. Now, I don't curse out loud.
Yeah.
But I did a lot of cursing. How's that guy gonna drop the ball? We got the Super Bowl on Sunday, Yeah. And I think it was the same play you scored that touchdown on in the fourth quarter.
It was.
And just
you was pissed off. Even Jerry was pissed on Friday. It's been well documented and talked about. It's so funny. I said, from my vantage point, it was the worst practice of my life. But when you're in this bad zone, it's almost like you can't get out of it. It's like you're in a labyrinth. You're in this maze that you can't find your way out. But two drop passes is a bad day at work for NFL. It was bad. It was bad. The only reason why I know I didn't drop everything, Stray said I dropped everything, and is because I had one 7-on-7 period where Coach Koff was like, "Oh, now you want to return? Now you want to catch something?" So that's how. And but I blame it all on Plaxico. The Negro didn't come. The Negro didn't practice.
Yeah.
So, this is super dope. So, I just hold you in so much high regard. You're at this stage, of course, where you're so engaged in ministry. FCA, and you already talked about like even mentors. Who are some of the people that you've had the opportunity, you feel like you've been blessed and privileged to be in that seat of sharing your professional knowledge and your spiritual impartation through the years, that you can stand on these relationships and say, yeah, man, I've been blessed to be in position to kind of like impart some wisdom unto this guy, and this guy. Who are some of those people that, have, for lack of better terms, come under the Jerry Palmieri umbrella in some way, shape, or form?
Well, you never really know the effect you have on somebody.
This is good.
Until you see them down the road and they come back and tell you. They say, Coach, you really impacted my life. And when I transitioned out of the weight room,
yeah,
when Coach got fired, I got a lot of texts, a lot of calls from some guys, and like Danny Clark. Remember Danny Clark?
Yeah,
there,
linebacker,
close to your
double nickels,
the end of your career.
Yeah,
and he called me up, and this is a couple years later.
Yeah,
and from the time that he was there, so it's 16, and so since then he became a Christian.
Yeah, he's on fire,
and he's in ministry, and he called me up and says Jerry, because I had the privilege to coach him as a rookie in Jacksonville and as a veteran with the Giants. Jerry, when I first met you, I sound so bullheaded,
Yeah. I wonder where you get that from.
But Rhett just continued to absorb all that.
Yeah.
And then you just never know really the impact you have. It's like John Wooden said, you don't know the impact you have on somebody's life until 20 years later. You see them and they come back to you and, they say, Coach, you helped me become the man or the woman that I am today. One guy put it this way, says, when you're investing in these players, you see them 20 years later, and you're walking down the street and they're walking towards you, are they going to keep coming towards you, or are they going to cross the street and go on the other side?
Yeah.
And I hope and pray that they come walking toward me, because that I want my players to know that I care for them. I push them because I want them to be the best they could be.
It's good.
But I love them in the process.
Yeah.
And I won't mention the name, but one of our players, you guys you played with, one of our linemen.
You got to drop some names, dog. We family, dog.
Well, I'll tell you.
Find out.
So Kareem McKenzie and I.
Come on now, K-Mac, come on.
So Dr. McKenzie, by the way.
Dr. McKenzie, that's right. Recently.
So Kareem and I we're in the weight room. It's probably about 2006.
Nice.
And there's nobody around, just he and I. I gave him no question. Hey, so Kareem, how you doing spiritually? Just an open question.
Sure.
He said, well, I may not get this exactly right, which one was which, but my father is Pentecostal, my mother is Jehovah's Witness, something like that. and so, I looked at it and said, Kareem, I didn't ask you about your parents, I asked about you.
Nice.
And
woo! Boom.
The conversation just kind of ended. And I'm not going to push it. But you know what? A couple years later, Kareem came to me and said, hey, Jerry, started reading the Bible. Really? And so now we had an open door. And so every day we'd say, hey, what'd you read about today? And nice. So, he reads something and I'd be familiar with it. I add a little insight to it. We had this conversation going.
Sure.
And it's just amazing how he transformed in his relationship with the Lord. And
responded.
He's always on an island.
Yeah, I've been trying. I used to try to get on the McKenzie Island. That's my brother, Willingsboro's finest. We were in high school at the same time. He went to Penn State. He was probably a year in front of me, and but I remember seeing him at a track meet when he was throwing shot put in high school. So it was dope when he went over to the Jets and we got him in free agency, and this big old mountain of a man, but super intelligent. Just a super cool dude, but and having a different vantage point of the same growth. I was the burning bush. So you were seasoned. You were a seasoned believer, and I was the jagged, burning bush. There was, I was in the black and white season, no nuance.
Yeah.
And I think, like I said, I tell people you could do the right thing the wrong way. That's what people misconstrue about the faith. You could do the right thing the wrong way, and so what's right doesn't get delivered because there's not even the wrong way, there's a better way, right? And I think what was powerful about your presence in the locker room was not only was it more mature, something I couldn't understand in the middle of my infancy spiritually, but it was consistent, and that's what everybody's looking for. I could certainly attest to your impact, and obviously, like I said, just getting a few years back in the front office and getting a chance to work with you in a different capacity. I want to hear a little bit about because when you've done something so well for so long, what was it like having to fade into retirement, right? And it's like, I know you're beating back the voices of, what actually works, but there is this progression of technology, of data, of things that at this stage, and you don't even need to, but these invasive evolution of your space. What was it like for you from the transition phase, was it a wrestling with that, and not like denying what the changes are, but how did you fade into that swan song era of your profession where it's like, I know what I'm doing is right. Maybe it could be some new philosophies. How'd you work through that? And we know your faith was anchoring, but and how did you come to terms like, all right, I did it. I've been the best. I've been rewarded.
So, the whole GPS came into play with a tracking athletes.
Sure.
Chip Kelly brought that into the NFL, and he was with the Eagles, and they had a number of tracking devices that they used, but they didn't have one for everybody.
Sure.
And we caught wind of that, and I was asked to research it, so I called around some people, got some information on it, learned about it, presented to Ronnie Barnes, and then together we went to Jerry Reese and said, we think we need to move on. So it was something that I accepted.
Sure.
And so we was the first team in the NFL to have one for every individual.
Oh, man, that's fantastic.
It didn't matter. It didn't matter. The practice squad, everybody had one.
Nice.
And then I hired Joe Danos, who I'd known while I was at in New Orleans for that 1 year. I got to meet him, and he was at Florida State.
Right?
At the time, and I hired him to come up, and he worked on my staff to take on that sports science role.
Nice.
And so
Joey D.
So that's what we did. Now there was some struggles going back and forth. Hey, we don't need to be doing this. Don't be this. Guys are overworked. So you had to balance that a little bit.
Yep.
But I did that, and I adjusted to that.
Yeah.
And I didn't fight the system.
Yeah.
Because I knew this is the direction that performance training was going in.
Sure.
So I embraced it and did the best I could within it.
It's good.
But you talk about going into retirement. So at the 2015 season, I go ahead and I had to get my neck surgery done.
Ooh.
I had some stuff going on, so I get tingling down my arm.
Yeah.
So I got neck surgery done. So I'm over at HSS, and I know Ben McAdoo was interviewed for the job, and other people were interviewed, and so I'm in recovery, and my wife said, "Hey, they hired Ben McAdoo."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, yes, because Ben McAdoo and I, we had a good relationship.
That's dope.
And I told him during that process, I said, Ben, listen, if you get this job, I'd love to work for you, but it's, you got to do what you got to do, what's best for you. These jobs only come around once in a while.
Sure.
And he said, Jerry, you're a hell of a strength coach, and you're an even better person. So, I think I'm golden, right? So when he got the job and they were going to retain Steve Spagnuolo as defensive coordinator, because Steve and I were close, I was so excited. This is awesome. Well, he called me the next day. again, I just had surgery. This is Wednesday night.
Yeah.
Called me on Thursday. Jay, how you doing? Hey, coach, congratulations. Yeah. Says, when you come back to the facility? Oh. Well, coach, I get released from the hospital tomorrow on Friday. Ellen can take me right there if you need me to. Yeah, why don't you come by? I hold the phone and say, that doesn't sound too good, baby.
We know that.
So it was Friday about noon.
Yeah.
I get there, walk in his office, close the door. I says, hey, Jeff, we're going to go in a different direction. But the organization wants to keep you around for the last year of your contract so you can hit your numbers.
Yep.
And you can retire, as you desire.
Sure.
And hearing those words were difficult for me. And I held it together while I was in the office.
Sure.
But he told me to go down and see Jerry Reese. And before I went, I had to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And then, I'm a grown man.
Yep.
57 years old, but the tears were crying, were flowing. It was hard for me to handle.
Yeah, it's real.
And then I got myself together, went in and saw Jerry, spoke to Jerry, and hey, it was a good thing. They were gonna keep me around.
Yeah.
Let me work in the organization. I'll turn 58, be able to have enough years in the league to get my full retirement, the whole deal. And went down and saw Marcus, and Ellen was downstairs waiting for me, and I just lost it.
Yeah.
The emotion again, that my career is come to an end.
Wow.
And it was just hard.
Yeah, it is.
And then, but gathered together, went home, and for that weekend, I pretty much, had a collar on my neck. I pretty much just sat on the couch, and my thoughts went, "What's it gonna be like, not being the head strength coach of whatever?" And I just went through those kind of emotions up and down.
Yeah.
But again, being able to stay with the Giants for that final year in a transition role, it allowed me to be close enough yet far enough away to get the feel for what it was like to not be coaching. And it was a blessing. I couldn't have asked for anything more. And so, that was my transition year.
Yeah.
I was able to walk away the following year. And I got involved with FCA actually during the 2016 year.
Yeah.
I began getting involved in FCA. 2017 was a full-time deal, not pay. I was volunteer.
Just for clarity, Shan B.
Just the time. And, we really did some good things. Ellen and I would do we do these marriage getaways for coaches and their spouses.
Nice.
We had speaking to the lives. We teach about marriage, and it's blossomed well. We're actually doing one in Michigan.
Nice.
And, in July, we've done them in Pennsylvania. We've done them in Delaware. We've done them in Virginia. So every year we do one here in North Jersey, and just speaking to the lives of coaches. I get to lead Bible studies. I have a Bible study at my house. I've been doing that since 2006.
Nice.
But I got coaches I speak into their lives, and that's what I want to do. That's where I am now in my life.
Yeah.
People talk to me about training. I'll share some thoughts. I have people say, "Hey, do you still train people?" Not really. If I wanted to put that much work into training somebody,
you can't come down from that mountain and just train a random joker.
I just, if I was going to do that, I'm going to put the same amount of work in training a high school kid as I would an NFL player. That's just who I am.
Sure.
And if I'm going to put that much work in, I might as well be getting paid. And so I get great enjoyment of investing into men, talking into their lives, speaking into their lives, and helping them to walk in faith. And that's what I want to do. I love to speak. I was part of a group this past year. There was 5 of us. We put on this Stand Courageous Men's Conference held right here in Parsippany. We had close to 1,000 men attend.
Amazing.
And it was a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Where seeing men spoken into to walk as men of God, courageously living for God. Not as, our media wants to create, our culture wants to create men as being, weak and dumb and not. Hey, we are strong men.
Yes.
We're called to manhood. We're called to be the leaders of our homes, and to walk as men of God.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to. That's what my passion is right now.
It's been fully lived out throughout your career. I mean, like it's just awesome. You was the most meek man we had. You always had. I tell people there's always a marriage between football and religion, and so you get a lot of religious people in the football world, but then you actually have a strong handful of Christians that are holding the line. Like that really carry the presence of God, the posture of God, and the way that they live. And like I said, there's good examples and there's bad examples, but you were one of the better. But man, to be a 2-time Super Bowl champion, man, you walked away big time.
Dave, you mentioned the word meekness, and I appreciate that because the word meekness means power under control.
Yeah, it is.
It's like a horse. A horse that's broken. That horse is calm, but at any time that rider can call on that power in a minute, and that horse will take off.
Yes.
And that's what Jesus was.
Yes.
Jesus was a meek man. He wasn't a weak man. He was a meek man. Power under control.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to be power under control. And that's what the word meekness really means.
And I think that's what's so amazing about the game of football. Powerful men who have to learn how to play under control, who have to learn how to play as one. I mean, the elements of our game are just, I tell you, it's not even close, in my personal opinion, the most amazing team sport because of how many people are involved that have to operate as one. I think that's what kind of is elevated amongst many. I got to get some more of your perspective because when I think about all the athletes that you've had the chance to engage with, who are some of the athletes that you got a chance to work alongside of a witness that you were amazed by? Like, when I say amazed by, it's like you're amongst the elite every single day. But then there are some specimens where that's just like, man, this guy's different.
Well, no doubt Odell Beckham was different.
Yeah.
He was just explosive in every aspect.
Yeah.
And the thing about Odell was he was a great teammate. Everybody loved Odell.
Tell the story, Jim.
People think that this kid's a prima donna. He's a pain in the neck. He's this. He's that. He's a troublemaker.
Yeah.
Hey, you have to know this guy.
Yeah.
And this guy, he was a great person.
Yeah.
And there's not a team member that didn't love him.
No.
No. Everybody loved him. But so he's one that always comes to my mind.
Sure.
I had some really strong athletes. You talk about, Chris Snee, how strong he was, how strong. Name just missed me. Good golly, the big defensive tackle we had went to Minnesota.
Linville? No, that wasn't Linville. Yeah. Not Minnesota, was it?
Yeah, he went to Minnesota. And he played Minnesota.
Gotcha.
And I apologize.
But
his, he's a 500-pound bencher, But Chris was just strong all over.
Yeah.
And hard workers, guys like O'Hara and McKenzie. That's why that line was the way it was.
Yeah.
And they were leaders. And of course, you yourself, Dave, was one of our great workers. And the thing is, you had guys who were talented and skilled, but they listened to you and they responded to you.
Yeah.
People act like the guys in the NFL, prima donnas, they want to do their own thing and they want their own training. We didn't have it that way.
No.
That wasn't an option. You don't bring your own training here. This is what we're going to do. And they just accepted it. And they did it.
It's true.
And they worked. Tony Baselli had him.
I had a Tony Baselli jersey. And I'm over here in Jersey.
And to go to his Hall of Fame induction, this guy.
You got invited?
Got invited. And he, he was phenomenal. You talk about a guy as big as he was.
Yeah.
And athletic as he was. And he became a Christian while he was in the NFL. He came to know the Lord through Mark Brunell.
I heard about Mark.
And Mark was a great athlete in those times
he was a mobile quarterback before there was really a thing.
Yeah, he was awesome. And then Fred Taylor, another great athlete. Fred Taylor ran 4'4", 228 pounds.
Come on, talk about it.
Okay,
I'm happy he getting the shine with the pivot and finally getting a chance. Because to me, he was. I grew up watching Barry Sanders, but he was the closest thing to Barry Sanders in my era of observing running backs that I saw.
Yeah, no, but he was, Barry was just so quick.
Shifty, yeah, the shift factor was different, unlike anyone.
And Barry was a strong guy. I coached Barry at Oklahoma State.
Stop playing.
So I had Thurman Thomas. Now again, I was the assistant.
He was a young boy, yeah.
I was the assistant.
But you witnessed this.
Just two of us now. So the head guy and me. So I had my hand in it, but I had Thurman Thomas.
Yeah.
And then I had Barry Sanders. And then I had Freddie T and Jimmy Smith. Jimmy Smith was
a receiver.
Yeah, his career just took off. What happened was they brought in. He came in '95 the expansion draft.
Yeah.
And we was just there.
Yeah.
And then in '96 they signed Andre Rison.
Ooh, bad move, Rison.
Now Andre Rison and Coach Coughlin, that's like water and oil, But he tried. I'll never forget this though, David. And Mark Brunell was a man of God.
He was, and
he was a gracious individual. I never seen him call out another player.
Yeah.
But we're playing in Pittsburgh, and Mark throws a pick, and it might have been a pick six.
Oof.
And he's walking up the field, and I see him going like this to Andre Rison, talk up the field.
Yeah.
And I think what happened was he didn't run the correct route.
Yeah.
So Mark threw the ball where he was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Instead of Andre being there, was a defender.
It was a defender there.
And so I think after that,
and listen,
Rison got cut.
There you go. But those are examples like when you say you do your own thing, and these are applicable moments in life, whether it's a family, whether it's a business, where somebody goes out and does their own thing, it leaves others exposed. It leaves others exposed to the detriment of the team, and ultimately we can't win. Like, these are the life lessons that you find in game. Like, bro, you can't just go out there and do your own thing.
Absolutely.
We got to be on the same page if we're going to execute. But you just named.
So Rison gets cut, and Jimmy Smith steps in, and we have Keenan McCardle, who was
another special
free agent that year, who we signed in free agency, and he's balling out. I mean, he's having a Pro Bowl year.
Yeah.
And then Jimmy comes on, and no one really knows Jimmy Smith
at all.
And he's having a year like Keenan's having, but nobody really notices it because he came in middle of the season.
He was more talented than Keenan. Keenan was polished.
Absolutely, and he went to Pro Bowl year after year.
Gosh.
And
super dominant.
Just a again, a great guy.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, made some bad choices.
Yeah.
We made it. Just a good person. And I was able to stay in touch with him for a couple of years afterwards, and we lost contact. But so I had the privilege to coach some great players. And Hall of Famer in Strahan, and I don't take no credit for Strahan's success. I mean, he was.
It's a lot of success.
He was already. He's ready to ball. But one thing though, we have a great relationship. He respects me. He did what I asked him to do.
Yeah.
He never sassed me or nothing. We worked hard together, and it was just a great relationship. Funny thing about Michael is, most of the guys lifted in the morning.
Yeah.
Back then, and Strahan goes, I want to lift in the afternoon after practice. When everyone's gone, I want to still be here working. I say, Michael, they're all here earlier working out. They got their stuff done. You're just the last guy getting it done. They're like you're working extra.
He tried to psych himself out, a little psychoanalysis.
Whatever. But, that's just the way it was.
Yeah.
And, we just blessed to be around some of the greatest athletes in the world. And,
literally. But also at the best time, though. Like, we talk, like, I love the state of the game, and like we're looking at some of the fastest, twitchiest athletes ever, just in light of the progression of the sport. So, I mean, I think what's cool for you is you got a chance to actually see the growth and the dynamic effects of your profession throughout the evolution of the game, like, you know, size, speed, strength, and now it's just it's at a point where right now, you know, now you don't have the mental resilience that previous generations once had because the business is invading in so many different. But I think you hit the apex of it, brother.
Yeah, you know, I'm glad I coached when I did.
Yeah,
because we coached the athletes, we trained them. Now, I mean,
they telling you.
Yeah, it's just like there's no time to train them. There's more time doing football and they got time off and everything, and you just don't have the opportunity to train them like the way you want to train them.
Yeah, that's real.
It was a great year, great time, great era to be in the profession, and now it's just a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
And you know, you look at athletes, and some of them they're not as trained as they used to be.
No, they're not.
You know,
I mean, like,
good athletes.
Well, I think this is a general statement or principle. There's not that many things that you do less of and get better at, right? So, and when you look at the age and the entry point of these athletes, obviously they're getting younger, and that means, you know, they have more information, but there's not a lot of context for all this information. Mm-hmm. So if they don't have the right mentors, and I think all this is starting to get, you know, now you got NIL and all these other factors that make it even more challenging. But if they don't have the right information at the right time, then you know, them being on their own isn't always what's best for them. So it's a challenging space for all these, you know, different leagues. Even now, the college really isn't amateur anymore. College is pretty much professional.
Absolutely,
it's just changed.
Matt Hasselbeck said one time I was at a meeting with the NFLPA and they were talking about the off season,
sure,
what needs to be done, so on and so forth. And Matt said, you know, guys, I'm gonna tell you something. Since we've all been in high school, we had somebody telling us what to do to train. We didn't train ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, Matt was a seasoned quarterback, put a whole lot of years in and if I had the privilege to coach him as a rookie and
at BC?
As a rookie at BC, as a freshman at BC.
Dude, coached everybody.
Freshman and sophomore. Yeah. And he's a good brother, strong Christian.
Yeah,
and
amazing family.
Really love him. But he tells us, says, look, we've been told all our lives what to do.
Yeah.
So now you're going to go ahead and do it on your own? You don't even know what to do. you know, and so
I still train, but I still don't know what to do. Yeah. I'm like, bro, I need somebody to send me some cards, yo. Send me some cards, Jerry. I've been reaching out to all my Coach Hicks was my strength coach in Syracuse. I'm like, man, somebody send me something. I'm tired of this. Tired of thinking.
You know, everybody just wants a plan, and then you need somebody to push you sometimes, you know, because you know, the first time you don't want to do it, that's the hardest to give it up.
There you go.
But then, you know, each time thereafter, it comes easy not to do it. We say the word is, the first time you quit's the hardest. But once you quit, each time you challenge thereafter, it becomes easier and easier to give up.
Ooh.
And it's same thing with anything you do. Any kind of discipline.
Hold on, folks.
If it's reading the Word of God.
Come on.
You know, hey, I don't feel like reading it today. Okay? If you feel a little tired again, I'm not feeling like. Next thing you know, you ain't reading it anymore.
Yeah, it is.
Any discipline.
And that's
the first time you quit is the hardest.
And that's what that is literally the beginning of. You got to get quit out your system. At the end of the day, I love what you just said, but it's like you got to have a plan and you got to have someone to push you. So when you think about life, at the end of the day, is, you know, there's one of my favorite scriptures. Many are the plans of the Lord, but many are the plans of a man, but it's the Lord's counsel that will stand. Right. Amen. So God expects us to have a plan, but it's always subject to some measure of deviation in the grand scheme of God, as I like to call it. But we got to have a plan, and then you need voices, people, to push you into those places where you maybe haven't even imagined that you can go. Brother, I mean, like, I can go on and on forever, but, you know, you talked about FCA, you've talked about walking into purpose, you talk about the people that you've had the opportunity and privilege to impact. Just talk a little bit more about, you stated your relationship with FCA, where people can find you, how they can access just opportunities to learn from and grow and maybe receive from your life and your ministry in ways that are tangible today.
So I love to speak to men in particular, churches.
Not play with men, just speak to men.
Just speak to them.
Okay, you got to clear the air,
Love to speak to athletes and coaches. I'm not sure if you have my contact information, David. I do put out a devotional on Twitter each morning.
Tell them your Twitter handle. Follow my dog on X.
I got it written down somewhere, but
I love you, dog.
I think it's like speak_scripture.
Nice.
Yeah, that's what it is. And I put out a devotion each. It comes out 7:00 Monday to Friday.
Nice.
And I have a special group of men and women that I actually text that devotion to.
Excellent.
So I'm speaking to the lives of people who some I don't even know.
I love it.
It's a friend of a friend of a friend,
yeah,
kind of thing that wanted to get on. So it's a blessing that way. But that's where I am now.
Yeah.
And my email is jerrypalmieri910@gmail.com.
Boom.
So that's an easy way to reach out to me. But yeah,
brother, you got the wow factor. This is Jerry Palmieri. Man, I mean, I got so many fun memories just in relation to the bantering. But when I consider you were like a warden of work and worship, right? You had the wow factor, like the warden of work, but also a warden of worship. I have a seminar that I've done called Real Men Work or Work is Worship, and it comes from walking out this DNA of making your work sacred. And I think you were one of the examples before I even understood the scriptures, the word of God, and what a mature Christian life looked like. You had the wow factor, man. So I got to salute you, brother, for your example, your deposits of faith, even in me. Some of my funnest years were just going up in that strength and conditioning office with you and Marcus Paul. Rest in peace to Marcus. That was one of the hardest losses for me. Because even though I didn't spend a lot of time with Marcus outside of work, I didn't realize how much time, when you invest that much time being close to people, just going to work, how much that person could mean.
Yeah.
So I can't even imagine what that with the loss, how it hit you. No. But I just thank God for you.
I called you and told you when he passed, didn't I?
Yeah, I believe you did.
Yeah,
I might have heard it from one place just because of our Syracuse connections. But but man, you held the banner, so I just got to make sure you get your flowers. Your body of work is amazing, brother. I mean, you have so much to be proud of. I think God's proud. So just want to encourage the audience, make sure you reach out to Jerry. His platform is powerful. His witness is true. He's led, impacted, and guided men throughout the breadth of his amazing career. And God's used you mightily, still using you mightily. Make sure you oil that hip. Oil that hip, put some, grease up the neck, make sure everything's working in proper condition so we can keep your life and your witness before men. But I appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming and hanging out with us.
Well, I appreciate you, David. Thank you for having me.
No, you're the man. You're the man. Make sure y'all tune into this, man. Get pushed into your purpose, get pushed into your destiny. Jerry's example as a man of influence is what we could all aspire to be, and we can take all of these lessons. No matter what sphere of influence you're in right now, you can carry the same disposition, same mind, same heart, same spirit, so that you can catch your moment. We'll check in with you next week.